Welcome to What's Happening Now on KBLKradio.com, and thank you for tuning in. We have an exciting show for you today, and everyone should be listening. So right now, what I want you to do is text or call 7 people and tell them to tune in to this show. Today, we have a good one for you. We have Ceko, Kurd, a refugee with no country. And we also have Mr. Deandre Cooper, formerly incarcerated, with us. And we're going to be discussing prison reentry and the Syrian refugee crisis. But right now, I want to give you a joke. And my joke for today is like this, and it reads like this. A child asks his father, how were people born? So his father said, Adam and Eve made babies, then their babies became adults and made babies, and so on. The child then went to his mother, asked her the same question, and she told him, we were monkeys. Then we evolved to become like we are now. The child ran back to his father and said, you lied to me. His father replied, no, your mom was talking about her side of the family. All right. So I want to give you, there's a report that came out. I just want to talk about that a minute before we get into our show here. But I don't know, did you know that black and gays lead with STD rates? On November 25th of 2015, Bill Donahue commented, he's with the Catholic League, and he commented on a report for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is sexually transmitted disease surveillance of 2014. And here's what he said, and I quote, after decades of the most progressive sex education programs in our nation's history and the most massive distribution of free condoms ever undertaken, never has the rate of sexually transmitted diseases been worse. The rates among blacks and homosexuals are astonishing. There was an overall increase of 2.8% in chlamydia rates between 2013 and 2014, and rate among blacks is 6 times the rate of whites. After reaching a historic low in gonorrhea rates in 2009, the figures for 2014 grew quickly. The rate among blacks is 10.6 times that of whites. Syphilis rates jumped so much that they are now at their highest rate since 1994. The rate among blacks is 5.4 times the rate among whites. Blacks comprise roughly of 13% of the U.S. population, yet they account for 55.4% of all gonorrhea cases and 50.6% of all syphilis cases. Even more disturbing are the rates for chlamydia, gonorrhea among blacks in the 0 to 4 age group. You hear that? 0 to 4 age group. No racial or ethnic group comes close to them. Primarily the secondary syphilis is now a mostly gay disease. Although gays make up a mere 1.6% of the population, they account for 83% of all male syphilis cases. Throat and rectal infections are particularly high. Now, how did we get to this point? We have no problem waging war on promiscuity when it comes to food, alcohol, or cigarettes, but we refuse to treat sexual promiscuity the same way. We speak endlessly about the horrors of obesity, cirrhosis of the liver, and lung cancer, but when it comes to STDs, we get clinical. It's time we put political correctness aside and started having an honest conversation with everyone about the dangers of sexual promiscuity. Condoms are not the answer, restraint is. And no groups need to hear this message more than blacks and gays. End of quote. Now, he didn't mention AIDS. And AIDS is another sexually transmitted disease that can really kill you. And I just want to give you some stats here. 50% of all new AIDS cases in the black are in the black community, which comprise only 13% of the population. A black woman is 20 times more likely to contract AIDS than a white woman and represents 72% of all women with AIDS. AIDS is now the #1 killer of black women aged 25 to 34. By way of comparison, AIDS was only the 11th leading cause of death for white women aged 25 to 34. It's devastating, says Gail E. Wyatt at UCLA AIDS Institute. 74% of black women with AIDS, HIV contracted HIV through heterosexual sex. and you can't put the blame on men that go both ways. Black men in America engage in polygamous relationships 3.5 times that of white or Hispanic. Polygamy is more common among better educated black men who presumably have more income. And this was a study done by the University of Chicago called Sex and the City Study, January 9, 2004. White women who engage in relationships with black men dramatically increase their chances of premature death or long-term health problems from murder, beatings, and STDs. Now, don't get mad at me. These are scientific facts. Sexual immorality is a theme that is commonly seen and experienced in the black family. It is rampant in the church, sports, music, TV, and community. Sexual immorality has decimated black marriage. Sexual immorality has resulted in over 72% of all black children being born out of wedlock. Sexual immorality has left 85% of black children without two parents. Sexual immorality has resulted in a level of fatherlessness unprecedented in modern history and perhaps in the world. While feelings trump truth increasingly for all American Christians, the overwhelming weight of the black religious experience is so deeply rooted in emotion that biblical truth is of relatively little significance affecting actual living. As a black research associate for the Action Institute stated in Devaluing the Black Family, and I quote, "We should be asking searching questions about churches and what they are teaching," end of quote. All stats and references are from Save America Ministries, CDC, and Barna Research Report. Now, I know we can change. Yes, systemic racism, poverty, fragmented systems such as schools, dysfunctional families, community organizations, and churches play a role in the demise of the black family. But ultimately, it is a choice and the power of God that can change you. For example, I was a sexually immoral person. Before I got saved, I used to go to clinics many times to get treated for STDs. I know of at least 3 women that were pregnant by me, and I had them to get abortions. And all this happened before I was 22 years old. But God changed all that, and God changed me, and he can change you. But you have to get in a church that will challenge you to change your lifestyle and not let you remain as you are. You can come as you are, but you can't stay as you are. And I will leave you with these scriptures in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9 through 11, and the reason I quote, "Surely you know that the people who do wrong will not inherit God's kingdom. Do not be fooled. Those who sin sexually, worship idols, take part in adultery, those who are male prostitutes or men who have sexual relations with other men, those who steal, are greedy, get drunk, lie about others, or rob, these people will not inherit God's kingdom. In the past, you were like that, but you were washed clean. You were made holy. You were made right with God in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and in the spirit of our God." And that's in a quote, and that's found in the New Century Version. Now, I want to begin this talk show with my brother, Mr. Deandre Cooper. He is one of the individuals that is a part of the Justice for San Diego SD 33. He was released from prison this year, and he can tell us what is missing and what is working in the system in helping people to get connected back to society. More than 1.5 million people are incarcerated in prisons in the United States, and about 700,000 are released each year. Former prisoners face considerable obstacles to successfully reintegrate into their communities, and many return to prison. In response to surging corrections costs and the harmful effects of large-scale incarceration on families and community, many state and federal agencies have mounted ambitious prisoner reentry initiatives. However, while the knowledge base about effective reentry strategies is growing, there is more to be learned, and the references is MDRC. So, Mr. Deandre Cooper, welcome to What's Happening Now.
Right now, thank you.
All right. So, now, how did you end up in prison?
Caught an indictment case, me and 17 other individuals. It was all based on promoting and associating yourself with a gang that was participating in a lot of the murders that was going on between 2008 and 2008 to 2011. And basically, the federal the feds were on top of us before the state was about the murders and the drug trafficking that was going on in my area.
And what area?
Southcrest, Ocean View area.
Okay.
And
what gang is over there?
5-9 Brams.
Okay.
And basically, for a few years, we were just being under watch. And after the watch was over, they came and gathered up whoever was still around, whether we did it or not. And once they came and got everybody was thrown in jail, and charges were thrown on people, whether you did it or not. And I was just one of the individuals who didn't do anything, who was thrown in jail.
Wow, didn't do anything. And so, how much time did you get?
I ended up getting a sentence of 3 years.
Did you go to a trial, or you made a plea bargain?
I did a plea bargain.
Now, if you were innocent, why take a deal?
The peer pressure from my family.
Okay.
You know, scared of catching a life sentence.
Yeah.
The situation my father was in before he passed away. This is a lot of reasons why I tapped out.
Wow. You know, and that's the thing. I heard one gentleman say that he'd rather do 3 years for something that he didn't do than to do 20 years for something that he didn't do.
Right. I mean, I could agree on that in a way. In a way, because there was plenty of times that I was sitting down in themselves like, I don't care. I'll do life for my rights, for what I feel is right. And I felt like that for a long time. Until I just started seeing them tears in my mama's eyes.
Yeah. Moms will get to us.
Yeah.
All right. So what is your opinion of the prison life when you went to prison? So what prison did you go to?
I went to CIM.
Okay. And how long were you there?
About 6-7 months.
And what was life there for you? Like there?
Horrible. It was a 23-hour lockdown prison where we didn't do nothing. We went to yard maybe once a week. We came out ourselves 2 times a day for approximately 5 minutes each time. So you can say that's 10 minutes out of your cell a day. I mean, you're not doing nothing. You're 3 or 4 hours away from your hometown.
Man.
Off in the desert.
And they're not trying to reform or rehab, not trying to offer anything.
There's no help in prison.
Man.
There's help. You got to help yourself. There's no help in prison. There's no... Once you're there, you're there.
And you got to take the initiative to try to find whatever. There's no type of support base there to help you to get on the right track and get reformed, so that when you get out, you can have some things set up for yourself.
I mean, I found God.
Amen, and that's it right there. So when you got out, did anyone that is a part of the system, when you talk about whether it's probation, the courts, or whatever, the prisons and so on, reach out to help you in any way when you got out?
I mean, I can speak on it before I got out.
Okay.
It goes back to where before I got to prison, I was sitting in the county jail, and I was supposed to be attending my dad's funeral, and watch commanders and all type of lieutenants and corporals from the sheriff departments were coming down to see me. Just from the case, from the media and the case, they already knew about me, and then me just sitting there with my father being passed away and me having a court order released to the funeral, and them not making that happen. I was getting a lot of attention from them, and then as I'm going to prison and working on my appeal, I had appeal lawyers wanting to do pro bonos, and that's like working on my case for free. I actually had Hurricane Katrina survivors reaching out to me, just for encouragement letters.
Oh wow, that's good.
I've had people who've lost limbs or born with glaucoma write me letters, just to keep the faith,
Amen.
Situations are hard. A lot of people's situations are harder than what most people feel like theirs is.
Right.
And I had people from the community out marching for me, posters, rallying in front of the DA's office. I had people from the what is that called? Voice and Viewpoint, San Diego Voice and Viewpoint. Her name is Sheeta Darby. I had her working with me, constantly putting articles in the Voice and Viewpoint about me. It was just a lot of people. I was, talking to you while I was in prison, about taking the deal. You know,
the second one, not the
yeah.
first one.
yeah. Actually, the appeal deal.
Yeah, exactly. To get you out.
Yes, yeah. I had you working with me.
Yeah.
I've had Jess out of the ACLU working with me.
Mm-hmm.
I've one of my one out of the SD33, Aaron Harvey. He was working for me. Armand Harvey, all the Harveys. Shout out to the Harveys. They did it for me.
Amen.
And my mom, of course,
Yes.
she got up out of bed every day with the motive to get her son back home.
Yeah. And she was a fighter too. I saw her out there. That's how I came to know you, through her and through Deacon Harvey. Dwayne Harvey.
Right. So I did have support. I can't basically, those that's the community and everybody else,
Right.
came out and brought me back out here. And the help now, I'm still working with you. Still got Jess here and there. I got the probation,
So we're going to stop right there, and we're going to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to finish up our conversation. And then we're going to get to Ceko Kurd to talk about the Syrian refugee crisis. And so stay tuned to kblkradio.com, what's happening now. And we'll be back in a moment.
Hey, is that a faucet running? Nope, that's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. It is? Yeah, forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink. The water comes straight from the forest to us. In fact... What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum. That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe. How do trees clean the air? They soak up the dirty air on their leaves, branches, and trunks, which means clean air for us. Cool. I didn't know that. Yep. But the forest does more than give us clean air and water. It gives us shade for hot days, birds to listen to, and trees to climb. Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know how cool the forest could be. Hey, let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
The rocket launched into the air.
And then crashed into the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Curtis Stone. You name a dish, and I've prepared it thousands of times. But even I can't cook enough to feed all of the 17 million kids in America who are struggling with hunger. That's where the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks comes in. They gather surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families. We call them food angels, and you can be one too. Earn your wings at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Because Black Lives do matter. The new KBLK.
Welcome back to What's Happening Now on kblkradio.com. And we're right in the middle of a conversation with Mr. Deandre Cooper, talking about prison reentry. And he was sharing his little experience while he was in prison and before he went. Now, Deandre, I want to ask you, when you got out, what type of resources were you given from, were you offered any resources, like a guide explaining who you can connect with for a job and housing or food and things like that?
When I first came home, for one, my appeal lawyer bought me some clothes.
Oh, good.
That was
awesome.
That was like a blessing, to be released in some brand new clothes.
All right.
From a person I never met before the case.
Right.
Then once I came home, my mom threw me a welcome home party, and that's when I got to shake hands and meet with you for the first time. And you plugged me with Danny, and then I was working that following Monday. I did the Big Brother program at Porter for the first 3 weeks when I came home. Just my girl helping me get back focused in the gym. My sister's helping me with this library card and me going to the library once a week, renting out books. Just
Right. So you had support from the community and from family, which is very important in order to survive. But what about, let's just say that an individual gets out and they don't have any support from the community, they don't know nobody in the community, they don't have any family. As far as the system, was there any type of support or resources offered through the system?
Honestly, I haven't found one yet through the system.
Okay.
I couldn't agree on any help.
Right. So, in your opinion, what needs to change in the justice system in helping people get connected to resources?
I just feel like they don't figure you out. They treat everybody as one.
Right.
I feel like they need to sit down with everyone as an individual and figure out who you are, what you need, and how we can make it better for you.
And they don't do that.
Because obviously we just got out of a tough situation.
Yeah.
If you are my PO or I am dealing with the system now,
right?
Obviously it's been bad. So how can we help it become good?
Right.
And I don't feel that's their task when we're involved with them. I don't think that's their occupation to just guide us into that right direction that we're asking for. The reason we're here.
Right.
We're asking to be guided into a better direction.
Right.
I mean, I understand that they hear a lot of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or I won't change, and then they don't see it.
Right.
So they might not take everybody as serious, but you can't just give up on everybody. You got to fight for everybody.
Yeah, every individual.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one of the ways that we can help reform the system.
Right.
So now let me ask you, I just have a couple more questions for you so we can get into our next part of this. As a felon, can you vote?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but when I last talked to Jess, she had some voting little I forgot what they're called, but they're like basically little passes I can go down and it might work for me.
Okay.
Because they're working on something through this year. They've been working on getting felons to vote.
Good.
And getting felonies expunged and stuff like that. So if I can't vote now, hopefully it'll make it.
Okay, that'll work, man. So being a felon, and getting out and needing that assistance and aid, do you qualify for public assistance? Let's say if you want to get general relief or go to welfare or things like that, would you qualify for that? Do you know? Have you tried?
Honestly, I'm not even sure.
Okay.
But I haven't tried.
Okay. Well, get out there and try and let's see what they say.
Yeah.
What they say. All right, so we're gonna move on and we're gonna dive right into the Syrian refugees crisis, and I have something I want to say about this before we get to Ceko Kurd, because this is important to me and for everybody to understand. And according to mercycorps.org, Syria's civil war is the worst humanitarian crisis of our time. Half the country's pre-war population, more than 11 million people, have been killed or forced to flee their homes. Families are struggling to survive inside Syria and make a new home in neighboring countries. Others are risking their lives on the way to Europe, hoping to find acceptance and opportunity. And on the onset of harsh winter weather makes life as a refugee even more difficult. At times, the effects of the conflict can seem overwhelming. Every year of the conflict has seen an exponential growth in refugees. In 2012, there were 100,000 refugees. By April of 2013, there were 800,000 refugees. That doubled to 1.6 million in less than 4 months. There are now 4 million Syrians scattered throughout the region, making them the world's largest refugee population under United Nations mandate. At this rate, the UN predicts there could be 4.27 million Syrian refugees by the end of 2015. The worst exodus since the Rwandan genocide 20 years ago. To tell the Syrians refugees, no, you can't come to America is not the Christianity of Christ, but the Christianity of America. Frederick Douglass said, and I quote, I love the pure, peaceable, and impartial Christianity of Christ. I therefore hate the corrupt, slave-holding, women-whipping, cradle-plundering, partial, and hypocritical Christianity of this land. Indeed, I can see no reason but the most deceitful one for calling the religion of this land Christianity. I look upon it as the climax of all misnomers, the boldest of all frauds, the grossest of all libels. End of quote. The Bible says in James chapter 2, verse 8 to 9, and I quote, this royal law is found in the scriptures. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you obey this law, you are doing right. But if you treat one person as being more important than another, you are sinning. You are guilty of breaking God's law. New Century Version. The Bible also tells us in Matthew chapter 7, verse number 12, do to others what you want them to do to you. This is the meaning of law of Moses and the teachings of the prophet. Having said that, Mr. Ceko Kurd, welcome to What's Happening Now, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Bishop. It's nice to be here.
Yes, good to have you. Can you tell our listeners who you are and what you do?
My name is Ceko Kurd. I'm from Kurdistan, Syria. So it's basically Syria, the very northern part, which is called Rojava or West Kurdistan, because Kurdistan spread out through Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Turkey. And I'm just trying to put the word out there, you know, for all the refugees, not just the Kurds.
Right.
There's Arabs, Muslims, Syriac, Assyrians, you know, Christians. You know, they need help, and if you don't want to help them to come here, at least help them to protect themselves over there. Or if you don't want them to come here, at least provide some place over there that they can have some good living condition, not just some blue UN tents that fade away after a few months without any running water or anything like that.
Wow. So, what brought you here? So you from what brought you here to America?
I'm from the Kurdistan part of Syria, so basically the very north of Syria. What brought me to America is basically like injustice, you know, over there. Just as the blacks in the past here in America, we were second-class citizen. We cannot speak our language. I remember I was 6 years old. I couldn't speak Kurdish in school. You know, they said, no, you got to speak Arabic. I remember, you know, they took in the 60s and the 50s, they took over 60,000 Kurds citizenship. So now you're illegal. Now you got to go out of this country. You have to go to Turkey. The fascist Turkish government was doing the same thing, so you got to get out of here. You know, and this was all over the four countries, you know, Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Turkey.
Wow.
So we the Kurds, over 40 million people, we were basically living in flux, like my teacher said, Mr. Carter. He said, you guys basically live in flux. You know, you have no set living conditions. You always you know, fighting, you know, men and women. You know, I got three of my cousins, you know, young cousins. Two of them in the YPG, the Kurdish militias fighting against ISIS last year, and another one, she was 23 years old. She died fighting against ISIS in Sinjar City. Maybe you know what happened last year against the minority Yazidis, they call them. It's a small, peaceful religious Kurdish group where they took basically 5,000 women, you know, as young as 5 years old, to sell them for sex slavery.
Wow.
I mean, we got still slavery in 2015. I mean, it's that ridiculous. And what's going on? All these politicians just yip-yapping and, you know, not doing anything about it when they can just actually go there and provide the people who are actually doing some work, which is the Peshmergas of Kurdistan, Iraq, and the Kurdish YPJ, which is the women faction, and even the PKK, the Kurdistan Workers' Party, which is fighting against ISIS, you know, right now, you know, and they're still getting labeled as a terrorist group, you know.
So some of the people, some of your people are being labeled as terrorists?
Yeah, exactly.
How did that happen?
Excuse me. How does that happen? Well, Basically, it's like this, okay? So just think about MLK, for example. It's a great example because we have right now a Kurdish leader. His name is Selahattin Demirtas in the Kurdistan region of Turkey. They label him as because he did a march to a town called Jazire, and they label it like a MLK march. You know, we associate a lot of that with civil rights and all that. So what happens is, you know, just like MLK, they want their rights, and now all this trouble happens in the demonstrations. So what does the government, the police say? Oh, these guys are terrorists.
Right.
That's how we got labeled terrorists.
Wow.
So imagine that, you know. So I mean, what you gonna do? So you try to go into peaceful governments. I don't know if you heard, like in Turkey, there was 3 big bombing in Persus or Suruc, which is Kurdistan region of Turkey. In Ahmed Diyarbakir, and even in Ankara, the capital, which is supposed to be the most safest city in all of Turkey, because we got the Secret Service and you know, all the government buildings very close by, while there was double suicide bombing happened. It killed over 100 something people. I mean, and then after they got killed, when
we don't hear about those kind of things.
No, of course not. And you know, the Kurdish flag was not the Kurdish color. The flag was not put on the White House or any of the buildings. No, because why?
Thank you.
It's Kurdistan. You know, it's the Middle East. Who cares? It's just another day. It's not like a lavish Paris, or it's not America or Europe. You know, who cares? So you know,
absolutely.
I'm not trying to complain, but at least be real. You know, be real with the word. You know, we're not second-class citizens. You know, Middle East is you know, the cradle of civilization. You know, like it's just not another. Oh, it's just another day. Who cares? You know, I do care. I've been out of my land for over 20 years. You know,
how long you been here?
Now I've been here for almost 13 years, and I was in limbo in many European countries, Middle Eastern countries for another 7 years.
Now, how old were you when you came here?
When I came here, I was about 16 and a half. You know,
so you were almost a young adult.
Yeah, basically, you know, I got out of my land all illegally. You know, all illegally.
Okay.
I don't care what the all the government says. You know, you can call anyone illegal. You know, I don't care where you're from.
Right.
So I got out of there when I was 8.5 years old. Out of my land, we had to go all, you know, illegally, fake papers, whatever you want to call it. You know, why? We don't want to get killed. We want to survive. We, the Kurds, want to survive. Not only us. You know, there's the Syrian Arabs. There is the Chaldean Christians. The Catholics. You know, whatever you want to call it. There's all kinds of religious groups that live in the Kurdistan region. You know,
and caught up in this, where a lot of them are fleeing.
Exactly. You know. So, you know, we just want to survive, so you're trying to get from land to land.
Now, let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel? Because one of the things that I've heard is, you know, some crazy stuff. One of the things I heard was, you know, let all the Christians come to America, but keep the Muslims over there.
I heard that, too. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I haven't done the research. But it's ridiculous. First of all, we all humans of this planet. We're all organisms of this universe.
That's right.
You know, you should respect every life. Even if it's a dog, if it's an ape, whatever you want to call it. Okay. But we're talking about human beings, you know? Like, if you're gonna label them as Christian, Muslim, Yazidis, whatever, you know, you're gonna start making mistakes, you know? How about you know, I'm sure if Jesus would be here today, I mean, I read a little bit religious scripture. If Jesus would be here today, you know, would he say this is illegal, or he would label them as a different religious group?
Good point.
No, he wouldn't. You know, just to let you know, if in case the viewer don't know much about the Kurds, you remember the 3 wise men that followed Jesus' star, I believe in the east, they said? These 3 wise men were called from the land of the Medes. The Medes is the ancestors' names for the Kurds. So these 3 ancestors were the Kurds.
All right.
You know, just to let you know, have a viewpoint. You know, we've been living there for thousands of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
About 100 years ago, you know, after World War I, the Ottoman Empire, which is the Turks, you know, they lost the war. You know, the Germans lost the war against the Brits and France. So they started splitting up the whole Middle East, making Treaty of Sevres in the 1920s, and started lining up all these countries. The Kurds were supposed to get a country. We didn't.
Okay.
We got backstabbed by the leader of Turkey, you know.
Wow.
And by the Arab leaders and the Persian leaders.
Wow.
You know, so for 100 years we have not gotten any rights. We've been in limbo, and we basically we say "Ber Khodan Jiana," which means the resistance is alive. So the only way to go through this is through resistance.
Right.
Where we live is basically like the ghettos, what you would call, you know. It's, you're fighting for your survival, and we Kurds, you know, we say we thick-headed, you know. We whatever you tell us, we say no. This is gonna be my way. You know, they put us in prison. You know, my dad got shot. You know, my mom got shot by the Syrian police. You know. You know, I got cousins that are fighting right now. I helped my aunt with her 2 children go from Kurdistan, my city's name is Qamishlo, to Turkey, and then Adriatic Sea of Greece, one of the what's called Greek islands. From there, almost the ship tipped over. You know?
Now let me ask you something. How? When you say, you know, you got there's some family and cousins, different folks over there fighting, you know, fighting right now. Who are they fighting?
They are fighting what they call ISIS or Daesh. Okay. These are basically these fanaticals. They're fighting in the name of Islam, you know, but it's really about money and power. You know, the most people they kill is their own people, which is the Muslim Arabs.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
They're fighting against anyone who doesn't believe in their ideology, which is like totally crazy fanatics, you know. If you don't do what I do, you know, I'll kill you, chop them heads up and whatnot, you know.
Right.
So we are fighting against ISIS, you know, but we also fight against anyone that is against us, whether it's the Syrian regime, the Turkish terrorist government, the Iranian terrorist government. We have no problem right now with Iraq because, you know, that was only in Saddam's time and all that. But right now, you know, it's getting better.
Yeah. So the Kurds actually helped. Did the Kurds help America overthrow Saddam?
Yes, sir. Actually, they did. They tried to help him even in the 90s, but we actually got backstabbed by unfortunately the U.S. government. You know, we were ready to help them to, you know, overthrow the government. They said, you know what, there's too much politics going on. Saudi Arabia, Iran, you know, they just don't want to get their hands dirty. You know, so they said, you know, never mind. We got killed again. I mean, there was in the 90s a lot of what's called refugees going to Turkey, and what is Turkey to? You know, of course, you know how friendly they are. They start kicking everyone. You know, it's just a mess.
Now let me ask you this: what do you say to people that say, "Hey, you know, stay in your own country and fight for your country. Don't come over here."
Okay, I like to what's called remind everyone. First of all, we got a lot of volunteers. You know, we got a lot of volunteers that they're fighting there, and they're fighting with you know weapons from the 70s and 80s. Okay, while ISIS they're fighting with U.S. class 2011 weapons 2014. You know, that they got from the Iraqi army. Okay, and we're still holding ground. You know, we have actually American veterans. You know. My very good friend and brother, you know, Matthew Kowalski, or Haval Dijwar, they call him in Kurdish. He went to fight there, you know, for around 7 months. He was fighting in Shingal city or Sinjar. You know, he got injured over there, and he's coming back here. He can't get even decent care for his leg. I mean, how ridiculous is that? You know, you're fighting against terrorism. They can't even take care of their soldiers. I mean, come on, you know. I mean, to me, we amongst the Kurds, he's like a hero. You know, here is like, oh, whatever. You know, they kind of look at him like he's some sort of terrorist. He just fought the ISIS. You know, the worst cancer that has happened to humanity. You know, and he's one of them. And there's a bunch of American veterans. I mean, there's over 300 or 500 people who went there. You know, I mean, are they all crazy? Are there something wrong with them?
Right.
You know.
Now let me ask you this: why are so many people fleeing Syria? You know, especially the women and children, and is it mostly women and children, or, you know?
Well, it's, I don't know the statistics, but I do see a lot of women and children. Okay. Put yourself in their shoes. Okay, you are in your home. Okay, there's ISIS a few miles away. You know, in the middle of the night, they might come in with an AK-47, start butchering your whole
You don't
family.
have nothing to defend
and
yourself.
guess what? You know, they might take your sister, your mother, your aunt. You know, they might take them for a sex slave. They might rape them right in front of you, and they might make them watch how you and your brother and your son getting their head chopped off.
And nobody's there to defend them.
No, the only force in the very northern part, which is the Kurdistan region, Rojava, there is the YPG, which is the the protection unit. You know, the Kurdish guys, yeah. Like the the militia of it. And there's also a women's unit. You know, they. I mean, when I talk women, I'm not talking about 1023. They're fixing up. So I'm talking about these. These are some badass fighters. You know, about 30,000 of them.
Wow.
I mean, one of my cousins. I told you, like she was 23 years old. She's fighting. I mean, honestly, there's girls younger than us. They're fighting over there, you know. I mean, picking the AK is maybe larger than them,
right?
You know, and they're fighting against they're fighting against these savages, you know. They're not scared, you know.
Man.
So that's the only people they're getting protected by, you know, not by anything else. You know, we're getting some coalition, what's called F-16. You know, they're dropping bombs here and there, but you know, you can only do so much, you know.
Right. So let me let's move the conversation to this. Many in the black community feels that refugees can get assistance with housing, health care, credit, home and business purchases, and a variety of relocation assistance programs that they can't get. What do you say to the black community?
Well, I'd like to remind my brothers and sisters of the black community that we basically in your situation, okay? We come here for about 6 months. They give us welfare, food stamp, Medi-Cal, and all that. Okay, I myself got that. Okay, when I first came here, and then what happens afterwards? They said you don't get anything anymore. You know, you basically got to start 6 months.
Okay.
You know, you get it, and they start reminding you, you know, a few months before that. You know, like, hey, you know, watch out. You know. So you got to start working. I worked in Jack in the Box for exactly 3 years and 3 days.
Wow.
Okay, and while going throughout high school. You know, I started going to college. I'm still going to college. You know, and I work at the casino right now. So I you know, I'm not getting any government help. Okay.
Right.
People who have like kids, you know, they don't know the language, you know, you know, they're older. Of course, they're not going to be able to work. My mother can't work, and I'm not going to make her work.
Right.
She took a freaking bullet from the Syrian police. I'm gonna, you know, she has back pains all throughout her life. I'm gonna take this, tell this poor woman to go work.
Right.
No,
now, what happened to your mom? What?
Well, my mom, basically the Syrian government, you know. My uncle, you know, her brother, he was young, you know, he had some troubles going on, you know, he was another Kurd, and the Syrian government basically harassing us, trying to put him to jail, torture, and she's trying to protect him, and boom, the Syrian police. It's just basically another episode of black lives here in America, you know, where they, you know, it's like there's a scruffle going, hey, hold on, boom, some guy gets shot, you know, oh, what happened? It's just some terrorist, oh, it's just some black guy, oh, it's just some Kurds, who gives a damn, you know? Well, we are people too, we are humans too. She almost died, okay, and you know, I mean, how can you live there?
Now, what made your father? How come your father fled to America?
My
family.
My father was against the Syrian government, the Turkish government. You know, anyone who was against us. You know, political fighter. And he took a bullet. He's been in his leg, and he's limping for the past 20 years or so.
Okay.
You know. So our lives has been just like, you know, damaged ever since day one. They've been damaged ever since my ancestors. You know, it's just a broken system. I mean, I just want to, you know, give you like a correlation between the blacks here. You know, like 400 years ago, coming in as slaves, even until now. You know, the situation might be, you know, like better, but it's not really all that great.
Right.
You know, you just described all, you know, the diseases being in high concentration amongst blacks. You know, the whole, you know, welfare and all that. We still got to worry about that crap. you know, education and all that, you know, like,
Absolutely.
come on, you know, when is that gonna get better?
Right.
You know, every day there should be a revolution for something, you know, not just, yeah, we go Black Friday, yeah, let's go shopping for Christmas, what gifts, you know, is this really what this world's gonna turn to?
Right.
Well,
right.
Then I have no hope for the future. I'm sorry.
If that's all it's gonna be.
If this is what's gonna be, I have no hope. But if people start rising up, protesting, talking to their government, like, hey, wake up, do something about it. Don't just yap about something.
Right.
Actually do something about it. You know, there is some help that is going on. Obviously, the what's called the coalition. You know, when the U.S. started bombing ISIS and all that, of course that helped. You know.
Right.
But are they gonna send 50 soldiers to the Kurdistan region of Syria? Start helping them? 50? I mean, come on. You know, like. You know, just,
So let me ask you this. What do you say to those that fear terrorists may slip in with the refugees?
I like to remind them that we are running from terrorists. Okay, the reason we come here is because we are being terrorized by these terrorists. So why would we come here and do that? You know, like you know, they just did a statistics recently. Most of the terrorists from 9/11, from all these, even the Paris attack, most of them were born in those countries.
Right.
You know, they were citizens. You know what? No matter what you do, no matter how much filtration, how much what's called it's the 2-year wait, right?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you're doing all that. It's a great job, but you know what? There's always gonna be some nut job, some crazy guy who's gonna come and do something. I mean, all it takes is one guy.
That's it.
One guy to start ruining it for everyone.
Right.
You know, is that our fault? Is that my aunt's fault
No,
that just got to Switzerland?
No.
I'm sorry, it's not her fault.
No,
you know,
not.
we're against those terrorists too. What are we gonna do? You know.
Exactly. So you know, and I think so. We know that, like, when the refugees come over here, Syrian refugees and refugees from everywhere come over here, we know that they're fleeing the terrorists. But I think one of the things they say is that, you know, terrorists can plant refugees among plant a terrorist among the refugees.
Yes.
What is your experience with that?
Well, I mean, I had zero experience with anything like that.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, most people who come here, you know, they're running away from terrorists. You know, most of them, women, children. You know, some of them, their husbands come with them. And, you know, they just fearful. They're just so thankful, you know, to be here. I mean, just being here in a safe place where they know they're not going to get bombed at, shot at. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm talking to my aunt on the phone on Skype, and she's like, what? I was like, oh, no, just a mortar just hit someone.
Wow.
Oh, okay, well, don't worry about it. I mean, I don't know if the next day I'm gonna be able to talk to her. I mean, is that ridiculous?
Yeah.
Her two daughters, they barely can go to school.
Right.
You know, I mean, you know, illiteracy. You know, it's not. You know,
Nobody
psychological damage. You know, it's all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm telling you, this is not only with the Kurds of all four parts of Kurdistan. It's amongst everyone like that. You know, the Christian, the Catholic, Assyrian, Chaldeans, the Arabs, Muslims. You know, Yazidis. You know, it's everyone. You know, experiencing that over there.
Wow. So, what do we need to understand about the refugee crisis that we are not being told in the media?
Okay, you know, the media, especially these big corporations, these big medias, you know, they love to give you a Hollywood story and make it all like it's some crazy thing going on. These terrorists are coming in, and I don't know what. You should listen to small time radio that not is just getting money by all these crazy people. You know, crazy, like it's government.
Like KBOKradio.com.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to mention. Yeah. You know, like these small town places, which they don't care about what anyone tells. We're just trying to tell the truth. It's our free speech and free. You know, it's our right. You know.
Right.
So they're just giving you this misinformation. You know, they're putting one thing to another. It's like a fallacy, which I learned in one of my philosophy classes. You know, like, oh, just because one of the Paris bombers was he came through the refugee, and then they're not even sure about that. That's it. It's gonna happen here, and you know, they don't have trust in their government. The government's not gonna catch them. Another 9/11 is gonna happen. Well, you know, are you gonna say that and you know, let people die over there back home? You know, where I'm from. You know, they're doing a 2-year filtration. What is it called? Like they're checking them out, make sure you know they're all
or whatever.
Yeah,
or the screening process. That
I tried to do that. You know, with my family. You know, they can't wait that long. If they wait that long, they might die. You know, by some bombing or something. So they have
do they make them wait while they're in the country, or do they flee to some type of campsite?
What they told me is what I did. They said you gotta go like to Turkey. There's a United Nations in Ankara, the capital, which is not easy to get to because you're getting harassed by the Turkish government.
Right.
You know, we just another Kurds to them.
Right.
And and you have to go to the United Nations over there and apply. Say, oh, I want to get to America. I have some family over there. And then from there, you gotta wait. Guess what? You don't know the language over there.
Right.
The Turkish government, as I said, they're not very nice, not very helpful. You can't work. You know, you're getting help maybe from people like us, family in Europe and here, where we provide for them. Where in the meantime, we're trying to make a living here. You know, after getting off of welfare and all that. Some people are even here on welfare, and they help their family back home from their welfare money. I mean, how ridiculous is that? You know, how ridiculous is that? How small do you have to live to breathe here, to be free? You know, in this world. You know, it's like. Come on.
And I like that, you know, especially when you talk about, you know, the humanity side of it, is that, you know, we're all human beings. We get into this gangbanging thing kind of like what we have here, you know.
Tell me about it.
Deandre is just talking about, you know, Bloods and Crips and so on. But it's the same thing. It seemed like, you know, the nations, you know, this is America and this is Russia and this is Britain and all that. Whatever happened, why do we have all these borders and boundaries in the sense of us against them? We're all human beings, and we all should have some kind of compassion for humanity, no matter where they're from. It shouldn't be about where a person is from. It should be about, as you're talking about, what would Christ do? If Christ was here, what would he do? And we know that he would help anybody. He didn't turn nobody away that came to him.
Bishop, you're preaching to the choir here. I mean, you know, it's just like modern day gangs, you know, gangs in suits and in governments, you know, like they think, you know, like I love how they're saying like fancy words. You know, they basically say no, or like in fancy words, screw you. You know, all these politicians. Like, come on, you know, just don't get up there with your tie. Just be, you know, eye to eye. You know, down to earth human being, and talk about it like you know, you're talking about your family is in need. You know, like you're talking like that, not just like you know, it's just some Middle Eastern people. It's just some black people. Who cares about them? It's not like that. No, it's not just some random people.
Absolutely.
These are human beings. This could have been your family.
That's right.
You know, the world can turn tomorrow, and this could happen anywhere else in a different country where your family gets affected.
That's right.
Would you like that? No, sir.
Exactly. So what do you think that, you know, in our closing, we're about to close out here, but what would you say, or what would you say to us, or to
help the situation?
Yeah, to the American people here, as far as what they can do to help and why they should help?
Why you should help? Well, just as we talked about, Bishop, you know, we're all human beings of this planet. It doesn't matter what color you are, what religion you are, what nationality you are. These all don't matter.
Right.
You know, we're all about human beings. You know, help one another. Just like I said, what would Jesus do? You know,
right.
Would he help out? I think he would. I read some of the scripture. Yes, he would.
Amen.
You know, so. You know, you can't tell me start being like, these terrorists are coming over. Look at them beards, or look at their towel wearing, or whatever. It's not like that. We're just human beings. We just have our own little culture. You know, we love America. You know, I love America. You know.
Right.
So, but I like to also help my people. You know, I like for them to be as free as I am free right here.
Okay. So we thank you. We thank you, and I want to thank Mr. Ceko Kurd and Mr. Deandre Cooper for being on our show. It was an honor and privilege to have you on. Come by and visit our church worship service on Saturdays at 11:30 a.m. at 610 South 30th Street, San Diego, California, Charity Apostolic Church. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week for another great show on what's happening now on KBLKradio.com. And may Yahweh bless you.